Okay, everybody. It looks like it's 11:15. Let me go ahead and get this thing started. Thank you so much for coming out today, especially this rainy day, stormy day, for this presentation about motivation and how to get your work published, called Not an Impossible Dream. So, by the way, my name is Patrick Murphrey. When I was in college, I majored in Spanish. And recently, to relive old memories, I pulled out my Spanish lit textbooks and books and read again Don Quixote de la Mancha. Now we all know the story. Don Quixote goes off and fights with windmills, thinking they're giants. And that book is now the world's best-selling book, at least second to the Bible, of all books of all time, because that story so resonates with our impossible dreams. But writing is not an impossible dream. It's an achievable dream, and an easy one at that. When I was a child, I always dreamed of being a writer. And these days, I am a travel writer. So today, I am hoping to tell you more about how you can get yourself motivated, get that work completed, get it written, and then take it and get it published. Whatever kind of writing, poetry, books, articles, whatever it be, how to reach that end goal. All right? So first thing, a little bit about me, about my background. I am quite the traveler. I grew up in a traveling family. I love traveling. I have been to all continents except for Antarctica. I have been to more than 50 countries, and these are just some examples. So over here in the top right, there I am in New York City, being bullish on Wall Street. Just below that, I'm one of my favorite places in the whole world in South America, at Iguazu Falls. There in the middle, and yes, even though I'm a travel writer, I can be a tourist too. There I am in Europe, playing tourist. Over here, in the bottom right, I'm here in Asia, in China, looking out the Great Wall. Top right, I'm having the Australian experience of standing on the Sydney Harbour Bridge with the Opera House behind me. So I am very much into traveling. It's quite a passion for me. Another passion, writing. Ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a writer. I used to just overflow with creativity and tell all kinds of stories and scribble down things. When I was in elementary school, I started keeping a journal, which I still do to this day. In high school and college, I started to become a prolific letter writer, writing 10 to 15-page letters to friends all around America and all around the world. So writing is in me, as probably writing is in your blood too. So it is possible to take that hobby and that passion and turn it into books, articles, whatever you want to get published. First, let me start with motivation. Start with talking about motivation. Actually, let me go back before I go into motivation and say one more thing. So how did I get into travel writing? At one point, I came up with a plan to become a travel writer. And bit by bit, little goal after little goal, I started to get there and started to publish articles. First, I published on the internet. Then I published in magazines and newspapers. And I continue to climb that ladder and work on that goal, and hopefully one day have a book and reach that end goal of publishing a book that's going to be so amazing. It's going to go down in history, even greater than Don Quixote de la Mancha, making me more revered than Shakespeare or Cervantes himself. Actually, that's my impossible dream. I'll be happy to publish books, but publishing is not an impossible dream. I am there, I am publishing, and we can all get there too. All right? So now let me go into motivation. SMART goals. I heard that the difference between a dream and a goal is a dream is something you never achieve, but a goal you accomplish. So from here on out, let's talk about them as goals and how to accomplish them. Back in the 1980s, some psychologists created this acronym called SMART as ways to help you complete goals. You could actually apply this to anything. You could just apply to, if you wanted to lose more weight, be more healthy, exercise more, New Year's resolutions, whatever. But I'm going to gear it towards writing. So S is specific. Don't come out with a vague goal. I want to write a book. Well, what kind of book? Make it more specific. Narrow it down to 2 sentences. I want to write a fantasy novel. Boom. There you go. You got your goal. All right? So make it specific as you think about your goals. M, measurable. How can you measure your success? So for example, maybe after writing 3 pages, you treat yourself to an ice cream. That ice cream is helping you see that success, reach that goal. You know, whatever it takes, ice cream, chocolate, anything. I know on the internet there's groups for helping you reach 10,000 words a month. That's another one possibility. You know, set yourself of 3 or 4 pages a day where you can actually write them and see them. You know, there's all kinds of ways to measure your success and show it. All right. A, achievable. This is kind of a little bit similar to measurable. How are you going to achieve it? Kind of that idea of 10,000 words a month. You know, I'm going to join a support group and check in with everybody and make sure that they keep me on track to get those 10,000 words a month a day. If you find that your measurability is just a little too much, scale it back down. Maybe instead of 10,000, come down to 8,000, 5,000, whatever it takes. I mean, you know, we're writers. We don't have to produce a 500-page novel tomorrow. We can take as long as we want, as long as we get it, and just break it up into little bitty tasks that are achievable, right? Relevant. Why do you want to achieve this goal? Ask yourself 5 why questions. Why do I want to write a book? Why do I want to write a fantasy novel? And on and on and on. If you find yourself struggling to answer these why questions, why do I want to write a fantasy novel? Well, I don't know. I just thought fantasy is kind of interesting. I kind of read some fantasy novels when I was a little kid and thought maybe, hey, this could be a book. Nah, you're not going to get there if you can't quite answer them that clearly. But that's okay, because that's going to bring out your values. But if you can answer them right away, I want to write a fantasy novel because I grew up reading fantasy novels and loved them, and one day I want to write a trilogy like Lord of the Rings. Boom. You know, you're proving that you're on your way to getting this goal. Okay? So make it relevant, and you can ask 5 why questions to prove that to yourself. Timely. Time-bound or time-specific. This is where scheduling comes in. All right? So again, make it possible. Don't say, oh, tomorrow I'm going to write a 500-page novel. No, break it up and say over the next 2 years, I'm going to write that 500-page novel. Every month, I'm going to do 10,000 words. Right? Mark it on the calendar. By November 30th, 20th, whatever, I'm going to have X amount done. So you can see that you're moving in that direction, right? So this is their suggestion, SMART goals on how to achieve those goals, all right? So now that you've worked through this little formula and you want to get it going and really get it going, what is the next step? Let's make it happen. Okay? Make it part of your routine. Make it a habit. Make it a priority. So making it part of your routine. I've heard authors talk about they have family and the kids are demanding, their job is very busy and demanding, and so they find themselves running out of time really fast. How do they get around that? They wake up early in the morning, first thing, before everybody else, an hour or two, and write. And then suddenly their routine is write, get the kids up, get them off to school, eat breakfast, blah, blah, blah. So they've turned it into part of their daily routine. All right? It doesn't necessarily have to be in the morning. It can be at night, whenever. The nice thing about the morning routine is you get it done and it's over with. I actually do that with my foreign languages. I like to keep them sharp. So first thing, I'll take a little bit of time and read in a foreign language, try and learn new words or review some grammar somehow to keep my foreign languages sharp, and then go on. For me, writing is more of a habit. I'm just into it, habit, hobby. So I don't necessarily have to find ways to fit it in to a routine. I just want to do it. For us, a habit. So when we brush our teeth, we don't think anything about it. Right before we go to bed or right after we eat a meal, we just grab that toothbrush and pop it in our mouth, blah, 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 blah. Go for it. All right? That's a habit. Getting there sometimes with some things is a little bit hard. I have some medicine these days I'm trying to take, but I'm not doing very well. I haven't turned it into a habit yet. Hopefully, writing is not going to be a struggle, and you can just quickly turn it into a habit and make it something you want to do and do all the time, anytime. All right? Make it a priority, something that you absolutely want to do and need to do. So one time I was listening to this TED Talk, and the speaker was actually a time management counselor. And she had her clients for 1 week log what they did every hour of every day for that week. She had one client come to her and show her her schedule. And this lady was a mother, a single mother of 4 children, and worked a full-time job. And she discovered in that week that the lady had a serious problem in the house. The hot water heater broke. So she spent 7 hours during that week calling repair shops, getting people out to her house, getting that thing fixed so that they could have hot water again. 7 hours. Maybe if I said to you, hey, let's go take a hike up that mountain over there for 7 hours, you might be, no way, because hiking's not a priority for you. But if I said, hey, let's have 7 hours to go have fun and a great night of visiting and beers and all of this, you might be able to find that time. So make it a priority. With writing, you don't necessarily have to do 7 hours a week. You can do more, you can do less, whatever it takes for you to get that written product. By making it a priority, finding time, being at the start in the morning, being at an hour or so before you go to bed, you will get that written work accomplished. Okay? So that's with the motivation, right? Now, let's say, metaphorically speaking, that New Year's resolution, you're going to write that book starting on January 1st, but you've actually said something more specific because you followed the SMART goals. Unlike that person that said, I'm going to write a book, come January 15th, they haven't even put a word on a paper. You've actually written quite a bit. You're reaching that goal of having 1/4 of the book done come March. Finally, by September, you have completed all of that. Now, how do you go on to the next step and get it published before December 31st to meet that goal? Right? So now, I want to talk more about the marketing. And it is all in the marketing. And what do I mean by that? Let me give you a very good example. The world's largest restaurant serves millions and millions of people a day. And that restaurant is McDonald's. And we all know it's not necessarily the best service. It's not the best food. It's very unhealthy. But they have convinced millions and millions of people to come buy their product. They say, here, have this hamburger that's going to give you a heart attack and eat it. Many people, oh, you're right, give it to me. And take it right away and eat it. You know? So it's all in the marketing on how you do it. You can get that book out there. And I'll tell you what, unlike McDonald's, I'm sure we're all pretty worthwhile authors and can write wonderful stuff. So it's going to be a lot easier for us to sell our products and get them out there and market them. All right. So some of the things that have helped with marketing for me and some of the suggestions: make connections. One connection leads to another connection. Get where you can find those connections. Right? Conferences. You're here, this is a good start. Right? You can get out there and meet other writers, meet other authors, get their experiences, hear what they have done, learn from them by making those connections. Actually, one of these writing conferences that I came to, I met a person. When he found out I was a travel writer, he approached me and said, you know, in my company, we sometimes have travel projects and we need help with that. Could I have your contact information? And I gladly shared my contact information with him and passed it on. 10 months later, he contacted me and said, actually, I have a travel project I need help with. Will you help me? So conferences are very good places to meet and make connections. Other ways of making connections, I've heard many authors talk about sales reps for publishing companies, getting friendly with them, getting to know them. I heard one author talk about every time the sales rep came around to his work, he would take the guy into the back room and chit-chat with him and talk with him, and on cold, rainy days, serve him up some coffee. And finally, at one point, he said, hey, what does your company need? I will be very happy to fill that need. And the sales rep told him, and that's how he got his start. You know, that sales rep was very happy to go to bat for him, talk him up, and help him. And I actually had a similar situation, put in a book proposal with the sales rep, and we were talking, and he was very interested, and it was all looking very good. And then unfortunately, time wasn't on my side. A worldwide pandemic hit, and he said, sorry, we're not doing any more projects because schools are closing up, and so I wasn't able to get that book published. But there was a lesson there about working with that sales rep, getting that connection, and getting out there and building upon that connection. Okay? So make connections. Make it personal. I'm very good at this, and I like this a lot. You can get on the internet and you can contact that publishing company and send them emails and say, hey, publish my book. Hey, publish my book. Well, they got 500 emails of people saying, hey, publish my book, publish my book. So they might not ever get around to you. But if they can put a face with your name and your work, they'll be like, hey, we'll publish your book. So when I first started getting into travel writing, I went around and visited many magazine companies which would just show up in their office. If I couldn't get an appointment, just show up and be like, hey, I'm a travel writer. I would like to publish articles in your magazines. And because I was there, they could see my face. One, it was harder for them to say no, two. And they actually knew a person. Eventually, I got those articles published in magazines. All right? So however you can do it, make yourself known to a publisher. All right? Get yourself out there. Kind of leading into this and backing up a little bit. So when I started to get into travel writing, how was I going to get it out there? How was I going to get my articles published? I kept thinking about. I came up with a plan. And actually, I had very good incentive. I had just started freelance work. So in order to stabilize my income, I wanted every little bit I could get. So I had financial incentive. Get some money, get some money, get some money was going through my mind. Now we always don't have that financial incentive, but we have other incentives. We just really have great stories we want to share, whatever it be. You know, that can be equally as powerful and equally as driving as get the money, get the money, get the money, you gotta eat. All right? So you can do it. I went out, I just found somebody who would take my first article for free. And they took it. Well, I still didn't get any money for it. I went back to them and asked to do another one. They did another one. Again, it was free. But I did this because I heard that many places wanted to see published articles. Finally, I had 2 published articles. I could take them and say, look, I've published. All right? And then the money began to flow. And when you're going around and visiting these places in person, if you do this, do take them stuff. Do take them a manuscript. Take published copies of your work, if you have some, to show them. All right? Take a portfolio. By this point, I've published so many articles, I do take in quite a little portfolio and say, look, I published all these articles. All right? I will actually be taking a trip to New York City in March, again to approach several magazines about travel writing. The same thing, going in person with my portfolio to say, hey, please publish my articles. So making it personal. Let me continue on with getting yourself out there. You want to get yourself out there however you can. So like I said, first I did those free articles. You know? And once I got them, I was able to continue climbing the ladder. There's other things you can do, other ways. Get yourself on the internet. There's LinkedIn, Facebook groups. Whatever you can do to get yourself known and network with other people, other writers. I had an article out on the internet, a small magazine. I say not a small magazine, a magazine in Australia picked it up. They loved the article. They wanted to republish it. So I got royalties, which was really nice. And because they liked the article so much, they said they wanted more articles. And again, working with the connection, when I first found out that the article was going to be republished, they said, how do you want to do this? Do you want us to pass on your bank information? I was like, God, no, I want that connection. I was like, I want it published in a different bank. Can I talk to them? Sure, we'll put you in touch with them. They put us together. I passed on my different bank account information and said, just wanted to let you know this is where I want it and this is how it is. Please enjoy the article. And the conversation started. They said, we really like that article. We want more from you. So make those connections. Right? By having that article out there on the internet, it was picked up and it led to more connections. So get yourself out there. Another way I've heard many authors talk about is through contest. Submit stuff into contest. I heard one author say that he submitted into a contest, won first place, and he didn't realize it, but a publishing company was watching that contest, and they said, we really like this. Can we see a manuscript? Well, and for him, the rest was history. He eventually got that book published, and has since published many more with that company. Of course, the contest, if you win and you do well, you've got one more thing on your resume to show publishing companies and getting yourself out there. Right? So however you can do it, starting with a free publication, be it with the internet, other sites, conferences, get yourself out there and get exposed and learn from other people. All right? So those are my big suggestions on getting published. They have worked for me. I've heard them work for other authors, so I would like to share that advice. So let's say now you've worked through those goals. You've come up with the goals, the SMART goals. You've turned it into a habit. You've made it a priority, part of your routine, and you're now writing, and you've got to that finished work, have taken it around to many publishing companies, presented yourself, met publishers at conferences or through the internet, through contests, whatever you've done, you have finally done it. And you can do it, because writing is a very achievable dream, a goal. Unlike Don Quixote that's out there fighting those windmills thinking they're giants, you are there now at the doorstep of publishing. All right? Okay, so that went a little fast. Thank you very much for listening. And I kind of intended it to go a little bit fast because I wanted us to have plenty of time for question and answers, but maybe even discussions. If anybody had any ideas of what motivates them and keeps them writing, or suggestions on how they've gotten things published, or if they're working on getting things published, I'd be very happy for you to share those ideas. Along those lines, going back into like SMART goals, ways to help you make it achievable and see your success. This morning I was able to talk with Jan, and he actually has some software that can help writers. He's not presenting today, so if you see him around, be sure to talk with him about software on how to help you complete that written work, whatever it is.
We are in the lounge area, weird cards there that we can have some fun with as well. So.
Right. So yeah, you can also stop by and visit him in the lounge area. All right. Okay, yeah.
Are book fairs a good place to find publishers, or are they like busy doing something?
No. I think they would be very good. I'm sure they're busy, but I'm sure they can spare a few minutes for you to say, hey, I want to talk about books, and because actually at a conference book fair is where I met that publisher who really took to my book idea that unfortunately didn't work out because of the COVID pandemic, Corona pandemic. So yeah, no, absolutely, yes. Go to book fairs. Yeah, if you can.
If no one else has a question, I want to share something about publishing.
Okay, yes, please.
I think it's very important to start small, and I think there is a heroism attached to being a novelist and being a book writer. And if you publish one short story each year, each 6 months, and work one by one, by the time of 2 years, you have like 5 or 10 short stories, and that's a book. That's your first book. But if you aim for a novel, that might be a mountain too high to climb. And I think with short stories and poems, published maybe tens, maybe 100 poems, and one by one was so easy to even the effort of writing a poem is not that great compared with a novel. And when you publish it, the joy is great as much as publishing it. And if there is any despair of not getting it, also it's not great, because you didn't spend that much energy. So I just want to put that out there.
No, thank you. Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and that was my experience. I mean, and once you get going, it snowballs, and I climbed that ladder faster and faster. That's why I started with a small article that was for free. So yes, absolutely, and that's a way to break it down into task. Smaller task and achievable task. Just don't say, oh, by the end of the week I'm going to have a 500-page novel, because you won't get there. How are you going to get that novel? Well, first I'm going to start with publishing short stories or something. Yes, things like this. And that's one of the ideas behind that, achieving that goal. Yeah, thank you very much. That was great. Yes?
One of the things I've come up against with motivation is, like, you prepare a reward for yourself for after, and that kind of turns the writing into a punishment instead. Like that sense of, like, I'm just withholding from myself, and it turns the writing into a chore so that I can get something else, and it makes it less pleasant for me. I don't know if other people experience things that way, or if I'm crazy. But
I don't think you're crazy at all.
I'm not that crazy.
No, you're not crazy at all.
But how do you manage that kind of a thing? Because, like, I do think rewards can be good, but, like, how do you take it from being a reward for doing a bad thing, or like for doing something you don't want to like a celebration of having accomplished something good instead?
Did you, yeah, you want to answer that? Okay. And I can answer it after her, please.
The reward thing works this way for me. If I get my calendar, I work out from Sunday. I have a Sunday work meeting day with myself. Washing, cleaning, everything goes in that Sunday. The whole kitchen sink. Then I migrate it into my calendar. Once I migrate into the calendar, I see where I have spaces. I don't fill those spaces because you think you don't have time, but once you migrate, you see the holes. So when I set out to do a task, I say, okay, I've learned that I can write maximum 4 30-minute course of writing. But I just don't go in for 30 minutes like that. I say, okay, I'm going to read, if I'm doing an academic article, I'm going to read 10 pages in half an hour. It's easy. 10 pages, half an hour, and I'm going to write 5 sentences. Telling myself what I read. Or I'm going to clip 2 quotes, 2 quotable quotes in half an hour. It's easy. So write it down. I'm going to do that Monday, and I'm doing that Tuesday, and I'm doing that Wednesday. That's 10 pages, 10 pages, 10 pages, 10 pages. Okay, 5 sentences, 5 sentences, 5 sentences, 5 sentences, 2 quotes, 2 quotes, 2 quotes, 2 quotes. And then, when I set my timer, 30 minutes, I just go. Ding, and it stops. Then I stop. What else I have to do? What can I do? I feel my body. I'm good. Like 30 minutes. I tell myself what I'm going to do. I write that plan. I am going to read another 10 pages. I'm going to go 30 minutes. I go. Mad woman. Read. I write it down. Writing doesn't have to be clean. It can be done. It's ugly, ugly, ugly. But it's done. Very ugly. And I tell my students, I want the ugly. Don't give me the pretty, that's AI. So I know it's AI. You haven't done anything and you got these fancy combinations? No. So I do that. And then I say, Monday, what's my reward? When I was doing a big project, was watching Judge Judy. Oh, I watched that lady get crazier and crazier and crazier every day. So I would watch Judge Judy. Or I would say go for a walk. And don't necessarily take like food and things like that. Things that I have to get up and walk because it's good for the body. Or what I found really good for me was putting my hands in dirt, in the garden, pulling weeds. When I'm pulling weeds, see, writing doesn't only happen at the desk, it happens here. So when I'm pulling weeds, I'm composing, and I have a clarity like nobody's business. Once I get a bucket and I sit there and pull weeds, and it's working out in my head. And so the rewards come from me, but I wanted to say just one last thing. When I get to 4:30 minutes, I've learned that my body can't take it more. But that's the sweet spot. That's where my head begins to tell me, you can go somewhere. Every time I do it, it doesn't work. Because you bottom out. And writers have said, park when you're going downhill. Because if you get downhill, it's hell to go back up. Because that motivation is too much. So when I'm here and I say, gosh, I'm at this cliff line, at this cliffhanger, I really have to go. I write a question. And then I ask myself, what am I going to write next? So I write what I'm going to write next. And I line it up for the next time I'm going to go there. And at the end of each day, or each turn, or what do you call it, routine, I put that. So I don't think of it as bad. Whatever's on that page, that's what I achieved. Yeah. And it works. So I have graphs of big projects. I can tell you what I did every day for something. Because it's free.
All right, yeah, thank you. That's good.
But that's not a discipline everybody has. Some people hate it. They really hate it. But it works for me.
I like the idea of like setting up what you're going to do next time. I've never thought to do that, but that's really good because if I sit down, sorry, if I sit down at a project I've been working on, like it's just overwhelming. It's like, what am I going to work on? It's hard to even get started.
I have a student, I told this to, she works in Australia. She added to it. She shouts out in the office, I'm going to do so-and-so. So she's committed herself. She said, I'm telling the universe, I'm going to do so-and-so. I like this.
Just out of curiosity, do you write fiction, non-fiction? What do you write?
Creative nonfiction.
Non-fiction?
Creative
non-fiction.
nonfiction. But this process I did it for dissertation, for writing dissertation. I did it one summer. As a matter of fact, I didn't make up this thing. I joined boot camp because I didn't know how to write this dissertation. And people told me all kinds of stuff. And I joined a boot camp that my chair and her chair were in. And I picked up on that stuff and I tweaked it. But that summer, after the first chapter and everything, you have to go home and write, she said, well, just go home and write. So I did it. And also there's an app called 750 Words online. Just Google it, and it lines up all the days for you to type for 750 words, and you're done. It tells you when you reach that quota. So I did that. And very, very easy. Never goes away once you sign up. Simple, very, very simple. And I did it, and at the end of summer, when we went back to school, I gave her the dissertation. The chapters and everything. And she said, holy shit, you wrote this dissertation in one summer? You told me right. So I wrote every day. So it was there, ugly with everything. You think I know to write this stuff? I got chapter headings, I got whatever. And then she wrote the feedback. And I read them all. I said, I told them I'm going to be ABD. I can't. I'm content with ABD. All but dissertation, I'm not going to finish. Because these comments, and don't read them, too late. I read them all. What am I going to do with them? And that comes when you publish, you get the reviewers that will give you feedback, and it can be very overwhelming, and you want to run away. But what I learned, don't read them all. Just take a snapshot and read them. They're just suggestions. You don't have to answer anyone. It's your thing. Defend it. But the way to answer, to address the reviews, is to answer the question. So if they say, how about fleshing out this, you ask, to what extent can I flesh out? To what extent, or why, you throw into a question, you answer it, and you plug it in right there. And you go through the rest and you choose what you feel like. If you feel like this one is too big, pass it. And answer, even in the bubble, the comment, answer the comment right in there. And you just sit with it. And so that's how I got through.
Something that works for me when I write is actually, I'll go through the while where I'm writing, ideas come in, it's typing, and then I'm stuck. And then whenever I'm stuck, I stop. If I go through this idea and I get stuck, I stop and I go back just to that idea, just to tie here. And sleep over it. And the next day when I come back, it's magic. Saying when to stop. Sometimes if you just bang your head and try to get something out, it's counterproductive.
Yeah.
I find that when I'm stuck, that's not the story I'm supposed to tell. I'm going down the wrong path.
Well, okay.
So I have to sit with it and say, I even say out loud, and if it doesn't come in my mouth, I'm choking, this is not it. It's either I'm not ready or it's the wrong thing. So I have to stop. And I meant to ask you, how long does it take for you to get through an article to the next one? Because each book takes me 2 years. Every book is taking me 2 years. But I'm not writing every 2 years. They're all lined up. And no more at one. Yeah. So I don't know what your routine is.
Okay.
Or how you sequence.
In my sequence, okay. And let me say one more thing for him as well. So you're saying rewards might not work for you? Well, that's okay. Everybody's different. You don't have to do exactly what works for other people. Maybe just figure out a good schedule for you and mark it and follow it that way. Check yourself with words. I know if I rewarded myself with an ice cream cone after every page that I write, yeah, I'd be the world's fattest man. So that is not an option for me as a way to measure my success. So yeah, just figure out what incentive will keep you moving in that direction. And again, like we have talked about, even if it's little bitty increments, so it's only a few pages a day, that's okay. We're under no pressure. We have no guns against our heads saying, get that 500-page book done tomorrow. All right? It takes us a few years, that's okay. All right? So in your question with my scheduling, I often have deadlines. So that gets me going writing really fast. In fact, I have an upcoming trip at the end of this month, and after I'm done with that trip, they want the article a week later. So I'll be, working on that fast. Yeah, 2,000 words. Yeah. So that's one way. But like on the books and stuff that I'm writing on, I find that for me the deadlines are very fluid. I'm still just working on them. I'm in no rush. I know that one day I'll get there because I love writing so much. And right now I'm also kind of stuck in the trap of travel writing. It's paying so well and going so well that I'm just like, I'll get to the books when I get to the books. So I'm not as much of in a hurry with them.
You teach?
Yes, yeah, I teach too. How did I get the what? The travel work? Well, all actually. I do university work, high school work are my official stable jobs, but I also have my own language school where I teach Spanish and English of all ages. Huh? No. That's right. Si se puede. Yep. Yes, that's right. So yeah, yes.
Yeah, you circle back and you mentioned the books again. I'm actually having a little trouble figuring out why you haven't put out a couple of books.
Oh, okay.
Because this is my thinking. Tell me where I'm going wrong.
Okay.
Magazine articles usually revert back to your ownership fairly quickly. Depending on the magazine. And you must have lots of articles, a backlog that have reverted to you. So can't you just like pick a theme or a place and gather up the reverted articles and write an introduction and put it out as a book?
Yeah, that I'm glad. Thank you for calling that to my attention. I'm sure I could do that.
You might have trouble, if part of the reason is you want like a big name publisher for the prestige,
Uh-huh.
that's hard to get.
Yeah.
But you could gather something up probably fairly easily and put it together and get a nice cover done and put it out, self-published on Amazon. It might or might not sell.
That's true too. And I haven't really thought much about putting my travel articles into a book.
Articles are good.
Uh-huh.
When people love them, then you have a decent chance of putting out a book that's just a collection of articles you've already done.
Yeah.
And then
That's-
in your blurb,
Yeah.
you can reference those places where they've been previously published.
Ah.
Or you can say, these are the new edition
Uh-huh.
of those articles previously published.
Uh-huh.
You know, Jamaica Kincaid did that one article, Girl,
Uh-huh.
in the New Yorker. And it's in all kinds of textbooks.
Uh-huh.
And it's a reference to where it was first published.
Uh-huh.
It's in all kinds of short story collections, literature books,
Uh-huh.
all that stuff.
Okay.
If you get a little bit noticed, which you cannot guarantee, you know, but spending money on promotion can help. But if you get a little bit noticed, then that feeds back into magazines wanting to buy the rights to republish it.
Ah, yep.
You
Yeah.
could get a circular thing going. And I don't know if you gather themes like whatever travels you've done and put them in baskets and make themes, you might get there pretty quickly.
All right. Yep. Yeah, that's a good idea. The books that I am working on are completely different themes. That's why I had never thought much about tying my articles into one collection.
Just
Yeah.
another way to get a revenue stream and have some published books out there that
Yeah.
works for you.
You're absolutely right. Thank you for
Maybe
calling
you
that to my
have a
attention.
catalog of photos that you took. I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah.
as a photographer you are.
Yeah.
But if you could match photos with some of the articles and stuff and then put it out for people to read, you know, it's hard to read photos. Photos are hard on a Kindle, but they're easy on a tablet or something.
Uh-huh.
And people are getting ready to travel, they're not going to go to the bookstore and buy a book these days because they don't want to carry it in their luggage. They're going to go online and look for an ebook that they can read on the tablet they've already got. And
Yeah.
they're writing in train from place to place. Oh, it's like I'm going to Sapporo next, you know?
Yeah.
Did you hear about Sapporo?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Just a thought.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes. That is very good. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just interested. What are the books you're working on? Like, what kind of topic?
Okay, I like I really like nonfiction, so I'm kind of working on a book about World War II. A very comprehensive book, which is another reason why it's a very slow going project. The sales rep that I was talking to was actually a textbook idea, so I'm working on some textbook and teaching resource book ideas as well. Yeah. All right.
Completely different.
Yes, yeah, very different, yeah. But again, you know, and I do need to think more about that, I do love traveling and how to expand that kind of writing into some sort of travel, like ebook or something like that, yeah.
Coffee table books.
But yeah, yes, yeah, coffee table books, yeah. Yeah,
Coffee
exactly.
Table Books.
Yep.
The whole gift book category does great every Christmas.
Yeah, right. Yeah, all right, very good. Okay, I think we're pretty much close to time, so I hate to cut it short. Here is my contact information. If you do have any other questions or want to continue this discussion with me, feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to answer your emails. All right, again, thank you very much again for coming out on this rainy day as the storm comes through. Thank you again. Enjoyed it.